Hello again. In this video, we will add the ball and its movement. So let's get started. Let's start by adding a game object. So let's go to the main collection, open it, add a game object. We'll call it ball. Let's add a sprite. And let's make sure we add the correct image atlas and animation. We'll use the ball animation. As for the position, again, make sure we're in the component, in the game object and not the component. We want for the ball to start in the middle of the screen. So that means the x-axis has to be 640, the y-axis 320, and then we'll use the same set position we've been using so far. With our object ready, let's add movement to it. But before we do anything, let's discuss the logic we will be implementing briefly. So the ball will start in the middle of the screen, as we've already said. We need to decide what side the ball starts moving to, so we'll need some randomness here. Then very much like what we did in the paddles, we'll grab the object's current position, then we're going to add some speed to it, and that should include the direction, and then we add that to the ball's position. We will also check for out of bounds, but we will implement the logic in the next video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and implement the movement logic. Let's start by creating a script for the ball. Let's go inside the scripts folder, script, we'll call it ball underscore movement. Let's get that right. Yep, there we go. And before we do anything, and before we forget, let's go to the collection and attach the new component file. So the script, done. Let's make sure we save that and come back to the script. We'll start by deleting the functions we won't use. For this script, we'll only need the update and the init. So let's go ahead and make sure we have those just to clean things up a bit. Let's start by defining a constant for the object speed. Let's go ahead and do that at the top. So we're going to be using a value of 300, and then we'll see how it feels. Similarly to the paddle, we will need the game's width and object's width for the out of bounds check. So let's go ahead and just bring that over. Now the paddle uses the height instead of the width, but we could just change that, right? So let's go ahead and place this instead of size.y, it's size.x. And let's just rename this. There we go. To choose a random direction, we will create a table with 1 and -1. So let's do that now. We'll call it directions and -1 and 1. And then we will randomly pick one of these directions, so left or right. Okay, now let's go ahead and select an initial position for the ball. The initial direction, sorry. So what we do is from the directions table, we're going to be using a math.random. Here, what we'll use is the length of the directions table. So what we're basically doing is just selecting a random direction. And then what we do is we create a vector 3 for the direction. So it's going to make it a lot easier for us to then just sum it to the game object's position. So the way we do this is with bmath, vector 3. We'll be specifying the 3 components. So initial direction for the x. We're just going to be using 1 here. As an exercise, you can also add randomness to this side if the ball starts moving to the top or the bottom. For now, we'll have it fixed. And for the set, there's no movement in the set axis, so we'll just leave that as 0. Once we run this, you probably notice that the randomness won't quite work yet, and that's because we haven't set the seed. We will do that once we have the main script. It'll make more sense then. Okay, with our variables in place, let's go ahead and move to the actual logic in the object function. So we'll start by creating a vector 3 for the speed. So let's go ahead, create speed, same as the other vector we created, bmath the vector 3. Right, so what we'll do is we'll grab the object speed and multiply it by the direction. So we'll use the x-axis for the x-axis, and then we'll use the y-axis for the y-axis, right? And again, no movement in Z, so we'll set that to 0. So let's calculate the next position, where what we can do is just add the speed to the current game object's position. So we get the game object's position, sum the speed to it. We will also take into account the delta between the current and past frames in case the frames per second are varying considerably. Now let's set the new position to the game object. We're not gonna do the checks just yet. We're gonna test this, so let's go ahead and update this. And we should see the ball moving. Oops, seems like we're missing something. Let's go ahead and see what that is. Something weird here, autocomplete. Let's make sure we're using the delta, and yeah, look, that looks about right. So let's go ahead and add the check. We're not gonna be implementing the logic. We're just gonna be, well, we will delete the game object, but let's go ahead and add the check. So if the next position in the x-axis plus the game object's width, and we're not going to be using half of it because we want some leeway, right? We don't want the ball to disappear too quickly, so we're just leaving some leeway. So we're going to be using the whole of the game object's width, right? So this is less than 0, or if next pos.x, right, minus is the opposite, the object width is greater than the game's width, and then we'll add a print statement just so we know it's working. We'll just print ball out of bounds, and then to delete the game object, what we can do is just call go.delete. Cool. So let's check this out. Let's see if the print statement is working. And we've got some problems again. Let's see what's going on. Right, so it's not game object, right? It's game width. Awesome. Awesome. Now it's working. Now we need to wait for a little bit to see the log, and there we go. We can see the log there. It took a while because remember it's walking diagonally, and we're only checking the x-axis for the out of bounds. Awesome, that's it for this video, and in the next video we're going to spawn new balls using factories. So like and subscribe if you're finding this useful, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.